All right, all right. I don't know if you guys can hear me out there in TV land. All right. Okay. Let's see. Everything looks good. All right. So this is Phil from PDQ Merchant Enterprises in the ATM Mastermind group page. We're going live for our question and answers at 12 o'clock. And this is going to be our last Q&A for a little while. We got some trade shows coming up, and I'm going on vacation, so I won't be able to do lives for a while, but we're going to probably resume it sometime in end of July or first part of August, and it's been a great success. But I can't continue right now because I got a bunch of things going, but we're going to bring it back. So hope this has been helpful for everybody who's been out there, and I thank you guys very much for joining us throughout the process. All right. One of the things that happened this week is it was really exciting is months ago, well, actually years ago, we joined, there's a laundry association. We joined the laundry association, and we were instrumental in getting into some of the laundromats. I felt that there was a need to get in there, and we started placing ATMs in the laundromats. Now what happened is one of the locations, they told us, they said, hey, we want to try out the ATM, but we have a bunch of laundromats. We only want to try out one. So I said, okay, great. How do we? Let's just put that in, and we'll go from there. So we put it in, and it's been a while. It's in there probably over 2 years. And then now the guy has called us and said, you know what? I got 4 other laundromats. I want to put those ATMs into those laundromats. So it's been a great, that's great call for us. Now we get 4 more locations. This one has been amazing, and we'll see how the other ones do. Only little scary thing about this is that one was on a card system, and so I don't know. I'm going to go look at the other locations tomorrow, but I don't know if all laundromats are on a card system or just that one or what. Now I have been reluctant to put ATMs into laundromats that have the card system. We've tried it here and there, and some are a hit and some of them are a miss. I just think in my head, you know what, this is probably going to be not a great location, so I don't expect a whole lot of it. In this location, you know what, we were going with the fact that this guy's got a bunch of locations, and then we could utilize all locations. Maybe it would be a great thing. And you know what, we got lucky. It turned out real well. We got another one that has a card system. They gave us 2 locations, and the ATMs weren't that great on the card system. So we're going to probably remove those in the next few months. But I just want to let you know that, you know what, we try things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I wasn't 100% sure on this one because it did have the card system. I always tell you guys, you know what, let's solve a payment need or some kind of need that they need. In the laundromat, they need cash so they can take the $20 bills, put it in the change machine, and get coins for the washers. Some take bills, but they need something so they can do the laundry. With the card system, not so much. But in this neighborhood, it was a good neighborhood. A lot of traffic go through the neighborhood, and you know what? It was a payment need for the neighborhood. So I think we got a combination of, it's a big laundromat in Chicago, but there was also the neighborhood helped generate sales. So really interesting point. I know during the week we put on. We looked for questions that people are asking, and then we bring it into the Q&A. That was one of the questions. They said, hey, what should I do, Phil? Should I put an ATM where they have cards or not? I'm kind of more on the terminology that I want to lean against it, just because I know that it's not going to be the location that it could be if it was only cash only with no card system. But sometimes, you know what, you try things out, and you know what, sometimes it'll work, sometimes it doesn't. If you have an extra machine, or you think, hey, that might be I'll try it out, I'm okay to take that gamble, then try it. I don't recommend it, because you know what it is, the ATM is a big investment. It's not a guarantee. It's more, you know what, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I like to go with more guarantees, but I just want to bring that up because it did happen to us, and it turned out to be successful. Will the other locations be successful? I don't know. Time will tell, but I'll let you guys know when we install. All right. So one of the questions we got is, what do you think about placing ATMs outdoors? So it depends on if you, it depends where it is and what you're talking about. You're talking about, I see like in the city in New York, a lot of people, they place them on the streets, and then they get, some of them get armored, like some kind of armor that goes over the top of them. If you feel that safe in that environment, then I would say, okay, that ATM will go 24 hours a day. It'll function in the extreme heat and the bitter cold, probably to -20. The ATM will function. It gets any colder, it probably won't function. There, we've had an ATM in -20-degree weather with windshield, so it was closer. It was about 5 below zero, and it still worked. I don't know if it'll work under. I have to look at the rating on that, but it'll work as long as you keep it dry. For the most part, I think it'll work. It'll serve you pretty well. I only worry about security. So if there's outdoor kiosks that you could purchase, and you know what, they could protect your ATM. So I hope that helps that question. What's DCC? DCC is called dynamic currency conversion. And so what that means is if you're, let's say you're from France and you go to your ATM, you can take out US dollars and it'll convert it back to, I don't know, I think it's called the franc, I think. I'm not 100% sure of the currency of France, but let's call it the French currency. It'll convert it back to your own currency. So there is a charge for that. Now, back in the day, we didn't charge for that, or we couldn't charge for that. With the allocation of DCC, now we're able to charge for that transaction. What did that mean? That means if you're from France and you take your ATM card, you could go to any ATM in the continental United States, take money out, and you didn't pay for a surcharge. Okay, with the allocation of DCC meant that you could go out, take US dollars, it would convert it back to your home, I guess home base currency. Let's say in this situation is the French currency, and then now the ATM operator who's dispensing that cash for you could charge you a surcharge, and they do that in a form of what they call dynamic currency conversion. So basically, it's just a fancy way for you to allow other people that are not you, that don't have a U.S. bank account, to pay a surcharge for your machines, and you can make money. That's what DCC is. All right, Noob, hey Noob, what do you think about wall ATMs? When, if ever, should I consider getting an ATM that's on a wall? So the wall ATM is, to me, it's not the best situation. I'm not pro wall ATM, and there's a couple of reasons. One, most of the time is you have to put the ATM at a level where if you were standing, you could visit, you could utilize that ATM. Okay, but then that violates with ADA compliance rules. So ADA says you have to be at between no higher, I think, than 44 inches high. But most people will put that wall ATM, they'll probably put it about 48 to 50 inches. So it's because they're thinking, okay, if I want to use the ATM, I'm going to put it this height. But truth be told, you got to do it at a where you would stand. If you were sitting, that you could do it, like if you were in a wheelchair. And the challenge becomes is now you put an ATM at a location that violates ADA rules. So I don't like that to begin with. Now, if you say, oh, I'm going to put it at that ADA level, then what happens is you got to drop down, crouch down to do the ATM. Because when you look at the ATM that's a floor model, you're looking down on it, the screen's up here, and the keypad's down here. And the keypad's got to be at that level. Okay, when you look at the wall unit, it doesn't necessarily fit that. Now, the wall unit is compliant, but where they set it sometimes could break compliance rules. So that's why I'm not 100% for it. The other thing is that, you know what, where are you going to secure it to? Most of the time, you're talking about a wall. They're made out of plywood and drywall. So you got to secure it in the studs. So it's real easy to put a pry bar behind there, pry that joker off, and walk away with the ATM. Where if you drill it in the floor, it's very hard to do. It can be done, but it's still very hard to do. So I'm not a big fan of the wall ATM. Sometimes, and I've seen, locations say, okay, I want a wall ATM. We try to steer them into a floor unit. And then some of the ATM manufacturers, they produce it for a little while, and then it becomes hard to get parts. So I've seen that, it's just not my bag of choice, to be honest with you. So, all right, how do you decide whether to place an ATM at a gas station, like if it's worth it? Okay, so all right, so most gas stations, I'm always looking at traffic patterns. I'm looking at how big the convenience store is. If they have a convenience store, usually when you talk gas station, I'm always thinking gas station, convenience store. What kind of traffic do they get? Most of the time it's worth it, but a lot of times I've been in locations where it's a small, real small location, filling station, gas station, whatever you want to call it, and they don't get the traffic. So usually the bigger the gas station, the more traffic they get, is what I've kind of seen. Or it depends, is it a neighborhood place? Is it the only place, or is it one of many? So it always depends on the traffic, what else is around there, and how big the store is. Usually when I've seen it, be honest with you, the smaller the venue, the gas station, the fueling station, the less traffic it does the ATM. So I'm always looking for a bigger store because it seems to be that the protocol is it has more transactions. But there are those anomalies from time to time where, you know what, it's a small station, but it's the only station in a geographic area, or it's the only station in a neighborhood, let's say a city location. So then you're going to get a lot of drive-through traffic. So to me, the bigger, my rule of thumb is the bigger the store, the more transactions I'm going to do. But again, there are those anomalies, one-offs, that could still make it work. Okay. Okay, so 5 months, it says 5 months I landed a business bank account for my ATM business. I came to the hard realization that the area that I'm in may not be good for few ATM businesses. I haven't been successful finding a location where I can place an ATM machine every time I see a location that might be a good one. I already have one there. I always look for an existing machine to see if there was working and ask the location if I'm happy with the existing. I just haven't been able. Hold on. Okay, so it sounds like the person is saying that they're trying to put the ATMs in locations, but they haven't found the right venue and the right location to be successful. So what I would say is, you know what? It's not always going to be easy. It is going to be tough. And you know what I like about this, I can't see of it, Sean Thomas, is that you're doing your due diligence. You're trying to put an ATM out, but you're not taking everything that's coming to you. I see a lot of times that a lot of people, they try to put one out and they're not successful. What I would suggest for you is, in this situation, is I would make a friend, and I always say this, I say this a lot, is make a friend with somebody who's already doing something in a business that you want to do. So in this case, if you want to go after laundromats, then find somebody in the laundromat, like a laundromat mechanic who services multiple laundromats, and they might bounce around from laundromat to laundromat, and what they're doing is they service all these people who own laundromats. If you're in, let's say, if you want to get into a convenience stores, maybe target a guy who's a chip guy or a soda guy or a liquor salesman who already know these people. That way, when something changes hands, you're the first on the block. So you what you're doing is you're doing a real good job going around and looking at the locations, but you got to get some help, and get some help with look at creating what I would consider a power partner. That helps a lot. A lot of times you don't have all the time in the world to go out and canvass the area. You need somebody who's canvassing for you. So try to develop those relationships. They always help, and they will get you deals. I work with guys in those arenas all the time. They call me and say, hey, this person's changing hands. We got a new store open up. I just found something. And you know what? It helps out. So those are the kind of situations that help, and that information will help you. I guarantee it. And then you'll get firsthand. It's kind of like going to the clearance rack. Right when they put the clothes on there, you're like, oh, I got a discount here with this clearance rack, and I'm paying. I got something good, and I'm paying cheap prices. So what sounds like to you is you're going to clearance rack after they put it on sale 4 months ago, and so there's nothing left. So hope that helps you. Let's see. We also got, okay, so I'm going to go to some of the questions. Okay, so how do I approach, one of the questions we got is, how do I approach a store owner? What do I say? I'm trying to put an ATM in a location. I don't know what to say. Okay, so usually what I start out is I go into the store and if it's I'm just using convenience stores here. Usually what I do is I see a convenience store that opened up or I haven't seen in a while. What I'll do is I'll walk in a store and I'll walk in. If I see the ATM right there, then you know what? I usually don't say anything. I might go, it depends on how hungry I am. In other words, if I want to get a stop or not. Let's say in this case I do. So I'll walk in, I'll look for, what I always do is I look for a Frappuccino because a lot of stores don't carry the Frappuccino. So I know that, so what I'll do is I'll look around. Then what happens is usually the store clerk will say to me, hey, can I help you with something? I say, yeah, I'm looking for this Frappuccino. That's usually made by Starbucks or somebody like that. I can't remember. And they say, oh, we don't have it, or we do, it's over here. Because it's not a big item that they sell a lot, and a lot of stores don't carry it. So I want to get that interaction. Now, if they don't have it, I'll say, do you have anything like it? And they'll say yes or no, and what they give me something like it, I'll go get that. Now I start a conversation. In the meantime, I already looked at the store. They either have an ATM or they don't. If they don't have an ATM, I would say, hey, did you guys ever think about putting an ATM in the store? And either they'll say, I'm not the person in charge, or yeah, I have, but I couldn't find one, or I didn't know where I could get one. I talked to my bank, they won't do it. So then it just starts the conversation, and the next thing is, hey, we put in ATMs. Here's my card. When's the boss here? If you're the boss, are you the boss? Are you the decision maker? Sometimes they say yes. Sometimes they lie to me. They say, you know what? No. And then my next question is, when is the owner here? And then sometimes they'll either tell me the truth, or again, they'll lie to me. They'll say, hey, the owner's usually here on Monday morning and Wednesday morning, or you know what, the owner's never here. So I'm like, okay. Sometimes they say the owner's never here, they're the owner. Sometimes they say the owner's never here, and they're the brother or the sister of the owner, or one of the kids, or the parent. You know, it just depends on who it is and what they want to do. So now I built up rapport. I get their name, I write their name down, and then when I'm in the area again, I might stop in. Let's say there's Tom. Hey, Tom, this is Phil. I stopped in about a month ago. I talked to you about an ATM. You said to the owner, you know what, can I get the owner's name? Can I get the number? And I start asking questions and try to develop a relationship, because they're the gatekeeper to me getting an ATM. I pursue that usually the relationship pretty hard because they don't have an ATM. If they have an ATM, not so hard. It would go like this. Hey, I see you have an ATM. Do you guys fill the ATM yourself, or do you guys have a provider? Then they'll tell me, yes, we have it ourselves. And I say, hey, I noticed the ATM's kind of old. It's outdated. If you guys ever want to get a brand new one, you know what, let us know. We could put one in. Here's my card. And if they say, no, we got a guy, I'm like, okay, well, if your guy screws up and you're ever looking for somebody else, here's my card, let me know. And so that's what I'll do. And then from time to time when I'm in that neighborhood, I'll stop in. I'll look at my notes. Who was it? Oh, yeah, it was Tom. They said they have a guy. All right, fine. I just stop in and say, hey, Tom, I know if Tom's there. Hey, Tom, I noticed that, I was in here a couple months ago, and you guys have it. Your guy, when's that contract expire? Are you still happy with him? So those are how those conversations go. All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so then we got another question that this week. It says, hey, should I get an LLC? Should I get an SCorp? I don't know the difference. What do I do? Certain people are saying different things at different times. So here's my thing is I always say to start up an SCorp. I'm probably the only guy out there that says that. Now, the reason I say that is you could start an LLC. There's no problem. And that becomes a sole proprietor. You just add that onto you, whatever your money you're making. Okay. But the challenge is it becomes confusing, because once you got your LLC, you think, okay, I have what I need. And that's not the truth. If you're making money, then you're going to get taxed by self-employment tax. You're going to have to pay extra taxes. So to minimize those taxes, you got to file as an S-corp. But then if I tell them, oh, we set up an LLC and then file as an S-corp, people get confused. They're like, wait a minute, Phil, you told me to set up an LLC. Now you're telling me that I should have set up an S-corp, or I got to file as an S-corp. I don't understand. You're confusing me. So that's why we take that all off the table. I say always the same thing. Just set up an S corporation and avoid the self-employment tax, and it'll save you money. Now, is there extra paperwork you got to do? Yep. When you set it up, you got to do extra paperwork. And every year, you're going to have to file what they call corporate papers. You get your accountant. It takes him about 15 minutes to do that. Registers with the state. I don't know about every state, but in Illinois, we have to do that. we have to register with the state of Illinois and file corporate tax papers. And so that's what we do. So there's a couple extra steps, but that's what we always did. We always set up an SCorp, and I've done it countless amount of times. Now, here's the good thing. You set up the SCorp, you know what? And you set your SCorp up in the beginning. Let's say you started in 2020, we were in COVID, and you know what? Now it's 2021. You're still trying to get your first ATM out. You know what? The corporation was started a year ago. You already been in business for a year. So now when they say, well, how long have you been in business? Well, I've been in business for a year. Okay, now you're already a player in the game because you formed that corporation last year. And so it doesn't matter. It never goes to waste. You have to just pay whatever it costs in your state to keep that corporate. In the great state of Illinois, I think it costs $150 to keep a corporation, even if you don't make any money. But to me, that when it was started, holds a lot more weight than paying that little money. So I always do that same formula. Been successful doing it, and that's why we chose and try to educate you guys to do that SCorp. All right. Next question is people ask a lot is, Bill, how do I find a processor? What do I need to do? And so the truth is that you have to go through an ISO, like PDQs are registered ISO. There are processors or switch commerce out there, CDS, or they say Columbus Data Systems, which there's first ISO. There is let's see, then those three. Those are the three. There's a couple other smaller guys out there that can process transactions. EFX is one. They're not small, but EFX is another processor. So there's those. Now people say, well, I'm with Cardtronics. Cardtronics is not a processor. Cardtronics is an ISO, just like PDQ. PAI, they're a processor. They're an ISO, just like PDQ. They use I forgot the name of it right now. But they use another processor, but they're pretty much exclusive with that processor. So they kind of act like the processor, but they're not. They're just the ISO. So, all right. Okay. So one of the other questions we get is, should I buy new? Should I buy new or used? All right. So here's the situation: is until you know, and this is my recommendation. Until you know how the ATM functions and everything in the ATM, I would buy new, because you don't know what somebody's selling you, and it's kind of like buying a used car. You don't know what the problems are with a used car. With a used car, you can always take it to the mechanic, and the mechanic says, oh yeah, we got the radiators blown, the disc, the brakes are shot, the motor's bad. At least you know what's going on. When you buy an ATM, you don't know. Now you think, oh, I got something for a couple $100. You find out it can't be upgraded. You find out that the board is bad. And so now it runs into some of these problems. The dispenser has to be rebuilt. Now you put an ATM, if it is EMV compliant, sometimes it's not, it's EMV compliant, and you put it in a location and the dispenser preps out. Now what happens is, now you just got into the business, you've been in there for a month, and now you're down for 3 weeks to get a dispenser fixed. So you don't want any of those headaches. You want to make sure that it's all working right. So I always say, spend the extra money, get a brand new ATM, that you don't have any of those problems. And as you're in the game for a while, then if you see an ATM from time to time, it's just, now you know at least the functionality of the ATM, and you know what you're looking for. So that's why I always say buy new. All right. All right. As an ISO, do you have IEDs from all over the country, or are ISO regionally based? So Jared, that's what Jared asked. No, we're an ISO, and we have agents all over the country. So it doesn't matter where you're at. We can process any transaction in any state in the U.S. I can't go to Puerto Rico or Canada. Canada, you have to be a brick and mortar. We're not up in Canada, and I can't do Puerto Rico and or Mexico. But anywhere in the continental United States, we can process transactions. And we can have agents anywhere in the continental United States. Okay. How do you recommend creating a relationship with a Maven? Oh, you're using my terminology. All right. Like this. Hey, I see that you're the Frito-Lay guy. Yep. I said, okay, how about this? When you're in any of your spots, here, what's your number? My name's Phil. I'm an ATM guy. I see that you sell chips. How would you like to make an extra $100? All you got to do is, every time you get a store that changes hands, you give me the call. If I put an ATM in the spot, I'll pay you $100. If I don't, I don't. All you got to do is make the call. Get the guy's number and then call him. Let's call him Jeff. Hey, Jeff, this is Phil. I met you like 3 weeks ago. You know what? Have you seen anything? No, I haven't. Okay, no problem. Thanks, Jeff. I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. And you call him. Hey, Jeff. Hey, when you're in the neighbor, when you in this area, hey, I'll take you. If you got lunch, I'll buy you lunch. All you're doing is you're building that relationship with that person from time to time, because guess what Jeff's doing? Jeff's looking, hey, you know what? I can make an extra $100. All I got to do is recommend to Phil that, you know what, Joe's convenience store is changing hands and a new guy's going in at the end of the month. That's it. That's all you got to do. And from time to time, you're going to build those relationships up. And that's all you do. It's the same as going into an ATM, into a location, except now you're talking to you're creating a power partner. All right. Okay. How much do they cost? How much? What, Nicholas? How much do what cost? So I don't know if you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. So thank you for answering my question. I'm looking forward to joining your mastermind group on Facebook and your course, learning so much later. Thank you. I appreciate it, Jared. All right, Nicholas. Oh, ATM. How much do ATMs cost? So ATMs cost. We sell ATMs for $21.95. That's for either the Gen Mega 2500 or the Nautilus Yosung Halo 2. That doesn't include a sign. That is an e-lock and a removable cassette. So $21.95 is what we sell ATMs for. Okay. Let's see what we got. Okay. Okay. So one of the questions they ask is how do we purchase the masterclass? We'll put the link down below, and it's on any and all of the videos on YouTube. So anytime you go in the description, it says masterclass right there. You can get information on masterclass. There's also a webinar that talks about basically when you click the link, it'll take you to a webinar and it'll tell you about setting up a corporation and helping you start your process and your journey. So does PDQ sell ATMs? Yes, PDQ does sell ATMs, and the ATMs are, like we just answered that question, but the ATMs are $21.95 for the entry level ATM. Now, people say, Phil, we got just reminded me of a question. I got a gentleman, and he said, hey, I'm looking at going into a gentleman's club. I want to do a good job. The guy's giving me a shot. I looked on Nautilus Yosung's ATM website, and they got ATM. They got this beautiful ATM. It's like a 5000 series. I thought I'd buy him that. What do you think? So I said to him, that's a beautiful ATM, and I agree with it. But that's a financial institution ATM. It's got a lot of bells and whistles on it that we don't really need here in the ATM business. If you want to wow the guy, I think the entry-level ATM is very nice. That's either the Gen Mega 2500 or the Nautilus Yosung Halo 2. Both ATM companies, they have what they call the next level, which is the Onyx and the Force. You can figure those are about, depending on what model, $150 to $200 more. And those are phenomenal ATMs. You don't really need to go any more than that. Do they sell higher? Yep. Do we need it? I don't believe we do. But you can always spend. I'm not telling you how to spend your money, but what I try to do is maximize the amount of money you guys can make. So to me, I need an ATM to basically dispense cash and create a phone call or a call the network and make sure that the money's in the account and dispense it. I need it to stay up and running. So I don't need that wow factor that you guys are talking about. You're in the ATM business, so you're wowed, but the location, you know what? They're okay with it. If you go to I want to say I'm gonna say maybe a Speedway. I don't know if they got those in your part of the country, but I know it's a lot of times they go to Speedway or it's a Quicks. PNC Bank is in there, and they have these big ATMs in there, and you don't necessarily need that big function. They're taking deposits. We're not taking deposits. So I think it's an overkill, but you know what? Don't tell the manufacturers I said so. But for us in this lane, you know what? Let's just go with the entry-level product. It's a phenomenal product. It does exactly what we need to do. And let's take that money that we're saving and invest it into the next ATM or the next location. Because what we're trying to do is is build up a nice reserve so we can take extra vacations or have some money for colleges for our kids, or just have some extra money. All right. Let's see what else we got. Okay. Where do you mean them through? You just seem to find. Where do you meet them through? You just see them filling a location. Okay. So what I'm saying is, when I go to here's a perfect example. I wanted to go into Latino grocery stores because I went to a bunch of Latino grocery stores and they didn't have ATMs. I don't speak Spanish. I know a little, but I don't know enough. So I would go to a couple of Latino grocery stores that they didn't have ATMs. I would talk to the store clerk. I would talk to what they said it was the manager in the location, and I couldn't get anywhere with those locations. And so when one of the days I went in there, I said, okay, I went in there, I talked to the clerk, person working the register. They were like, you know what, you got to talk to the owner's in Mexico. They'll be back. I'm like, okay, fine. And so in the back of the grocery store, they had food back there. So I'm like, well, you know, I'm hungry. I'm going to go back there. So on the way back there, they don't have soda in the back of the store. Okay. So you have to get they don't have soda in where they're selling the tacos at. You have to go to the front of the store. So I went, I ordered my food. The guy says, no, go up in the front and get a soda. All right. I walk in the soda and I see this guy off the street with a clipboard. I know he's a salesman. And he says, you know what? I see that, or he speaks Spanish to him, and they're pointing on the shelf and this and that. So then the guy, he does his clipboard, and then he goes at the back of the store and he orders some tacos. So I said to him, hey, this is what I do. Would you be interested in helping me? And he said he would. So that's how I met that guy. And I got dozens of stories like that. I was at a bar. I saw a beer distributor guy walk in. He's a salesman for the beer companies. I got his number. I talked to him. Liquor salesman did that. We walked into a laundromat. I saw a guy on his back fixing a washing machine. Hey, how would you like to make a couple extra dollars? Can you help me out? And so we've done that over and over again. That's how I met him. All right. Okay. I seen a video with the toppers. Do you sell those as well? I don't sell the video toppers. I stay away from that. I'm not saying it's not successful, but the challenge with buying a video topper is you have to, okay, I'm buying a video topper, and here's my challenge. I've been around this industry for over 20 years. I haven't seen a successful campaign to put the video toppers and make money. Here's the challenge. You buy the topper, whatever the topper is for. The guy who's selling the topper, he's good. He's making money, okay? But I need to put advertising on the ATM for me to make money. So I got to buy an increased bandwidth modem, okay, which costs me more money. I got to buy a topper, which costs me money. And now I got to go out and sell advertising. So I stayed away from it because I don't sell advertising. We place ATMs. That's what I do. If somebody who said, hey, Phil, here's the deal. You buy the topper. We're going to go out and sell ATM. We're going to go out and sell advertising, and I'll pay you, $50 a month. And I'm like, okay, well, the topper costs me X, and then my increased bandwidth costs me Y. If I make $50 a month for this location, I could put $20 in my pocket. I'm good with that. But I don't want to sell the advertising. So I stayed away. And so you guys can do what you want, but that's the reason why I don't sell advertising. We play ATM. All right. All right. Well, that concludes our session today. Don't forget that we have the ATM Masterclass. For you guys who want to get in the game, we have vault cash locations, location agreements, mobile agreements, and if you guys sell ATMs, there's a service agreement that you can still make money if you sell ATM to a location. And I'll put that in the link, not right here, but I'll put that on the replay so you guys can view it, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time. Don't forget that we're going to take a little break here from going live for, I don't know, maybe a month, and then we're going to resume it again. So I want to thank you guys very much, and I'll see you guys in a month or so. And don't forget to catch all the YouTube videos and Facebook. Thank you for joining the community. Bye-bye.